morning, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Thank y'all so much for tapping back in to see what I have to say. I promise y'all, it truly does mean the world to me. Yo, I feel so much better. I want to thank all of y'all for y'all well wishes. I thank y'all for still tapping in and watching that video, even though I wasn't feeling the best, okay? In that video, also, I talked about reaching to the 2,000 subscriber milestone. You guys, I want to properly thank y'all for that. I want to thank y'all for tuning in, tapping in, finding value in what's being talked about, okay? I thank y'all for that. I truly do, okay? But with all that being said, what we tapping into? We're tapping into Quant Network, okay? I want y'all to truly understand what Quant Network is facilitating with their software as a service, Overledger, okay? Follow me, because we know that they consider Quant the network of networks. I want you guys to understand what a network is so you can truly see what Overledger is facilitating and how it's going to be on a very global and very massive scale. This is sentiment, like Gilbert just said in a tweet, to the internet in 1996. Now understand where we sat internet-wise in 1996 as far as the adoption and how many people have started utilizing the internet in everyday processes of their life, okay? And what I mean by that is probably pre that, a lot of people didn't even have it in their houses, or because they may have used it at work, but then they came home to just regular cable, a cell phone that maybe or maybe was not a smartphone. Understand what's truly being laid out, because Apple doesn't come out with the iPhone until we're talking the 2000s, okay? And see where we are now adoption-wise of not just the internet, but Web 1.0 and Web 2.0, and how Web 3.0 acceleration and the adoption of it is going to be historic. And for a player like Quant Network to be facilitating this entire thing with their software as a service, just like Windows was Microsoft's software as a service, please follow me what I'm telling you guys. When it comes to these distributed ledger networks, we talk a lot about distributed ledger technologies, which is amazing. That is the technology that the distributed ledger networks will be using. So follow me. You have something like the RLN, which we went over inside of the videos, which is called the Regulated Liability Network, okay? You have something like Fnality. Fnality has their own network, okay? So you'll have something like a Stellar, and Stellar will have its own, which you already know, network. You'll have things like what Ripple have going on, and you'll have that network that follows. But understand what Overledger is. Overledger is that thing in the middle that connects all of those different networks together seamlessly. And that has been built out via a standard ISO TC 307, okay? Follow what I'm saying, you guys, because all of these networks are adhering to the same standard. Follow me. And we're talking money and things on a global scale. So we're going to go over a few different things in this video. We're going to go over Fnality and the behemoth of what that is. We'll go over a little bit of the RLN and the behemoth of what that is, what the Bank of England has going on as far as their distributed ledger technology processes. Follow me, because Quant Network is the network of networks. Overledger is that software as a service that is being implemented on top of it. Because think about it, even Oracle's, when they just rolled out their blockchain solutions for their customers, that is a network. Understand what is truly being laid out, and for Quant Network to be the connector of all of those networks. This is why I say Quant Network and Overledger is the institutional Bitcoin. It is truly that financial system or network to another financial system or network payment system. Follow me on this, you guys. But here we go. That first video, we're going to talk a little bit about Fnality so you can really understand that it's just like Fedwire and the clearinghouse. These two things, although they are each other's competition, they both operate in the same space and network seamlessly globally. Okay? Follow me on this, you guys. This is incredible. But here we go. This first video talking about Fnality.
In 2019, a group of 15, including BNY Mellon, Commerce Bank, and Credit Suisse, came together to establish London-based Fnality International. Now, they aim to bring central bank money into a digitized form. It says this will allow banks to significantly reduce their intraday liquidity requirements and will crucially overcome the credit risk conundrum referred to above. Back in 2022, 3 UK fintech firms and 2 European banks, which is Santander and NatWest, successfully completed a pilot POC involving the execution and settlement of a tokenized security. The payment leg was settled in a test central bank money-backed digital asset called the ecosystem testnet. Goes on to mention this guy, Christopher Agathangelu, head of digital capital markets and flow credit at NatWest, said at the time, quote, distributed ledgers and digital assets will help level the playing field by lowering the barriers to entry to financial markets for both large frequent users or issuers and smaller enterprises. For wholesale banking, this type of ecosystem can offer the advantage of processing and settling cross-border payments instantaneously on the blockchain, stripping away many of the time-insensitive manual processes and helping payment systems move towards a T=0 capability. Now look at this quote. You need settlement finality. Once the payment settles, it's done. There's no recourse. Whatever system you have on chain needs to provide that legal protection, says Fnality CEO Romeus Rom. Again, I'm probably butchering that up. He believes that banks could save, quote, as much as $16 billion a year on liquidity cost provisions. And of course, there's other benefits in regards to stable coins. The Bank of England's Sarah Breeden said in her recent speech that wholesale infrastructure should evolve to support the settlement of tokenized transactions to ensure the continued role of central bank money in wholesale payments. Importantly, the speech noted that private sector innovation using the Bank of England's omnibus account provided a solution that in effect allows the private sector to offer a train with the safety of central bank money traveling on privately operated payment rails using the latest DLT technology. Fnality is the first payment system to hold an omnibus account, and they look forward to bringing the benefits of central bank money to, of course, tokenized markets. And I know.
Now, you just saw what Fnality is, how it's operating, who's a part of it, all of the same players, most of them that also are a part of the RLN. Understand how you're going to have things like transactions, but then you also have a system for settlement. There's so many different things going on with the payment processes globally and how all of them are coming in harmony and in unison into a ISO standard. Things like a ISO 222, things like an ISO TC 307. Already played videos, go back, watch them, tying Gilbert Verdian directly into and talking directly about ISO TC 307 and exactly what it is, okay? Follow me. I might even put that towards the end of this video so you can just have a refresher of it from his mouth, but just follow me on this, okay, you guys? So, diving more deeper into how Quant Overledger is facilitating the network of networks. Okay, and is there anything talking about Fnality processes, and does it tie directly into Quant Network and the standard and Overledger? Just follow me on this. Here we go. The next video is my boy Maximus Crypto. And he is diving even deeper into the connection between Fnality and Quant.
Fnality is launching a platform for wholesale payments in the United Kingdom. The DLT base, sterling for support of tokenized securities and capital markets. Tokenizer states, as we know, QNT has been a fintech leader in the UK, and from its board of members, we see tons of connections to Quant. For example, Barclays tested Quant smart locks and Project Rosalind. Just mentioned that to you guys. NASDAQ, recent green markets launched with APIs. DTCC, Project Ion with Fnality. And Santander, UK Finance Panel, BNP Paribas, tested Project Mariana interoperability, Fnality, Project Ion with DTCC, times permission interoperability, CIBC, Canadian Bank, under Standards Canada. Lloyd's, for example, I think that's a typo, M-Letter, Trade Enabled XDC. Been there, done that, right? So he is right. The first banks go live are Lloyd's Banking Group, Banco Santander, and UBS. While we don't see QNT here, we can be sure knowing that they are building in compliance to what? ISO standardization. Finality times Quant is coming, ladies and gentlemen, another step closer since the initial phase 1 launch. Don't have a citation on this one, and that's okay, but I think this is valid. He says how it works. We are developing a group of payment systems that together constitute Finality, global payments. Each jurisdictional Finality payment system, for example, the sterling, FNPS, US dollar, and euro FNPS. I mean, if you think about Quant does all those things, do they not? Will utilize a settlement asset that supports real-time wholesale payments with near-instant peer-to-peer settlement, together with CAD, yen, Swift franc, etc., etc. Finality payment systems will comprise Finality global payments, a network of interoperable wholesale payment systems that enable near-instant PvP settlement on a cross-border basis. The network of networks, think how that's labeled, will dramatically reduce the risk, be it settlement, replacement costs, or credit counterparty risk, in real-time settlement and 24/7 availability. Over time, we, see other, including jurisdictions.
Now, y'all just saw that. I know this is going to be such a informational rich video, but follow me on this, because to understand the complexity of what Quant is doing is to truly understand how valuable the QNT token will be. That is the thing that is securing this network. Okay, things like QRC20 tokens. Follow me on this, and not ERC20 like the Ethereum standard, but Quant's QRC20 tokens, which is basically QNT. Understand what we are holding, that facilitates the deployment of smart contracts across all of these DLN networks. That makes it interoperable because it brings all of them into one time zone. That's why it has that patent that was approved in America, in Japan, in the UK, and the UN all in one day. Then another 38 EU countries as well. Understand what is truly being laid out right in front of our faces, you guys, okay? Because all of these things are based off of a standard. That's why standards are so important, because standards give them a clear regulatory ballpark to play in. So then I can then go and start creating a country's regulations off of the global standard, so that we all can do harmonious global trade like we have always done since the beginning of time. But now we can do this on a processee like a distributed ledger network tied into the distributed ledger technology sector. Truly understand what is being built out right in front of our faces, okay? This man talks about internet protocols. He talks about global standards and how he is a part of all of these things. Follow me on this, okay, you guys? I'm always going somewhere. But this next video is coming from a citation from Martin Hargraves, okay? Listen to what he says about distributed ledger networks and how Quant is playing a part in it. Follow me on this. Here we go. That next video coming from my boy, Maximus Crypto. You rock, brother. Here we go.
The 3-year DLT market evolution was written by Martin Hargraves. So I didn't want to skip over that, like, hey, you're just citing something out of thin air. No, not really. But I wanted to get to this part. So it mentions from Martin Hargreaves himself. Look at this statement. This is really, really something else. Major cryptocurrencies will always exist in the same way that online gambling will always exist, but they will coexist with collateralized single currency and multi-currency stablecoins, leaving little space for less trusted algorithmic stablecoins. Within a few years, perhaps as few as 3, cryptocurrency will be marginalized by and move towards fiat-backed tokenized money enabled by DLNs. This is why Quant puts so much focus on that. It says, in fact, this is already beginning. It's already happening. But in order for it to happen, several options for this fiat-backed tokenized money have now been developed in collaboration. I'll state that again, collaboration with regulators, and are already coming to market. These options include CBDC in some jurisdictions, collateralized by banks, EMIs, Fnality, and DM Reserve. But Quant's technology, yes, Quant will support the implementation of these models as well as the Overledger DLT gateway has unique features like link settlement, clearing, retail layers for tokenized money. Overledger network will connect strategically important tokenized currencies to facilitate fully tokenized payment services using, of course, DLNs. At Quant, we see overwhelming evidence that the world of DLT is now seeing a shift of focus from technology to business, a shift that will introduce the new era and use case innovation based around DLNs. Indeed, this era has already begun. National infrastructure are already beginning to blossom, and more regional DLNs will rapidly emerge as regulatory harmonization evolves. Think about that. They always mention that harmonization. It's here at Quant Technology that it will play a key role, critical role in fast-tracking the development and implementation of DLNs at all levels. Why? Because of its commercial, national, and regional DLNs infrastructure.
Okay, you just heard that. You just saw directly, and you've even seen other things in this video directly say we're using this particular standard, okay? Follow me on this, because we are talking about ISO TC 307, the global standard for building on blockchain. And who is the facilitator of the interoperability section of ISO TC 307? And that is none other than Gilbert Verdian, the Quant Network's CEO. And what does Quant Network have? They have a software as a service, a operating system that is global interoperability that ties them into any distributed ledger network, DLN, in the world. I understand there are other protocols out there that do the same thing that Quant Network does, but are these protocols tied to global standards, patents, and internet protocols? Understand, even those other things will eventually have to adhere to whatever the standard is that is fully operational and implemented within these countries. So understand, all of these different networks, from governments, central banks, big businesses, multinational corporations, and all these other things will have distributed ledger networks that tie into the network of networks that is a tie to global standards and internet protocols. Follow me on this, okay, you guys? Because knowing about Quant Network and understanding what they're doing right now in 2025, and to see the tweet that came out earlier talking about how we are where the internet was in 1996, and understand what the adoption of it, because a lot of people talk about that citation that Gilbert Verdian did on Twitter, but they talk about the 1996 part and harp on we're so far away, but they don't see, I look at words, okay? When powerful people talk, I listen and I read words. At the very, 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 very bottom of that whole entire thing, what did he say? He said Quant Network is facilitating literally accelerate the adoption of it. Follow what I'm talking about. And you don't accelerate adoption by, just putting a business out there. You accelerate adoption by tying a technology to global standards. That when other distributed technologies, and when I'm talking about your banks, your businesses and corporations that you work for, will all have to start implementing different payment structures via distributed ledger technologies, because you have standards like ISO TC 307. You have standards like ISO 222. You have standards like ISO TC 68 that are going live and operational and all conjoined to each other. This is how it was built out. This is why they have working groups, and then they have liaisons to these working groups. Understand, when words are being thrown at you from powerful people in articles, truly understand what's being said to you, because most people read and they don't let words actually sink in, and then they don't really think about it. When I hear and see things, I truly process every single word that's being said so I can understand the intent exactly of what's being laid out in front of me. And when you talk about things like internet protocols, think about, what do you do right now that does not operate on HTTP:/? How you look up something without it? You can't. That www going after that. Think about this, because even now in the world of Google, that you don't have to type that in, that doesn't mean that internet protocol and standard isn't being utilized in the background. It's just the front processes have gotten a little better since the days of you having to type in that whole thing out. You can now go to a Google, type in a keyword or a phrase that then takes you to that whole thing, and then you just click it and go. Follow what I'm saying about what acceleration and how mass adoption is truly going to shape the entire sector of Web3 and these distributed ledger technologies and the distributed ledger networks that are built on top of the distributed ledger technologies. Understand what is truly being laid out in front of us, you guys, and the opportunity, knowing about Quant Network and QNT in this moment in time, how incredible it is, okay? But here we go. And I know this was a long video, but y'all, this is informational rich stuff. This is stuff that you can think about when the market is down and everything is red, or Quant is at $78, and you're like, oh man, come on, this again. But think about the future of where this is going and how we now have open dialogue across the world. Right now in America, you have things like the Genius Act that is now trying to be passed, which is the stable coin regulation that has already passed the Senate's Banking Committee, and it is getting ready to go to the full floor for a vote. Understand, you now have Democrats and Republicans talking about the Genius stablecoin legislation in positive manner, which means that it's probably going to pass on a bipartisan place, right? Which then goes to the House, which is already currently codifying their own legislation so that it can literally work with what's coming out of the Senate. They've already said they're about 90% agreement. And we're talking now both Democrats and Republicans in the House as well, because they are trying to push this to Trump's desk by the middle of this year. And this is just the stable coin. Also, we are talking about legislation for market structure in America. And I want you to tie that with everything that is going on globally, like MiCA in the EU, like the regulation that's coming out from, like I just showed you in one of these past videos, Parliament in the UK. Understand how distributed ledger technology are being built right in front of our faces, you guys. I know this is a long video. Here we go. This next video, it is Gilbert Burdian talking about ISO TC 307 and his involvement with all of this, coming from my boy Incash. A blast from the past. Here we go. This next video.
ISO TC 307. Everyone is so heavily focused on ISO 20022, which again, for good measure, because it has a great deal behind it, right? We've talked about it. This is blockchain and DLT standards. This is the standardization that needs to be put in place around blockchain and DLT in order for it to be adopted and utilized. And guess who created this? That's right, the Quant team. Tapping into DLT and carbon markets, digital currencies. I mean, there is so much here. You can even see security, privacy, and identity for blockchain and DLT, foundations, smart contracts and their applications, governance, use cases, interoperability, non-fungible tokens. Everything that you have been reading around blockchain and DLT and the adoption of it, this is the standard that needs to be put in place. And outside, this was done by authoring the ISO proposal to standardize blockchain and then establish a technical committee. The proposal was approved in October of 2016, and the ISO TC 307 committee quickly grew from 5 to 53 countries and bodies such as the European Commission. These countries are outlined in the map below, and if you guys do want to go check out the siting to see this, and you could also see some of the large areas that are already participating within this. I'm sure that you guys probably recognize a few of these major names because guess what? They are the ones that are moving very quick on blockchain and DLT. Even the US is here as well. For those that are out there saying the US is falling greatly behind, they already have their plan of action in place. But beyond this, right? Like, this is for blockchain as a whole, not just specifically interoperability. Within the structure, there are multiple working groups, each focusing on different areas. Gilbert Verdian is the chairman of, or for the ISO TC 307 working group for interoperability of blockchain and DLT systems, which, as you guys do see, here you guys have it, which we could also see that over here as well around interoperability. But beyond that, points around a lot of these industries, including, like I've said, healthcare, finance, agriculture, even carbon credits. So you need to heavily focus on ISO TC 307 when it comes to Quant because they've created this standard, and this standard is going to be heavily adopted. And here we have from Gilbert Verdian himself back in December of 2022. There is more to blockchain interoperability than merely choosing the right technology. As Gilbert Verdian explains, it requires global collaboration. That's why we're working with ISO standards to create the blockchain standard, ISO TC 307. Again, listen closely to this video to really understand how significant this standard is.
What we set out to do was really shape where the industry should go. And we've taken a very collaborative global approach to this by shaping what the standards should be and establishing different types of standards at different levels within different international organizations. So they're all worked on collaboratively with the industry, and they're all agreed with all members and all participants of the industry. So it's not forcing standards on top of existing systems or vendors or technology. It's actually collaboratively coming up with what a standard has to be for the industry to adopt. So that's the work that we've done with ISO, with ISO TC 307, which is the blockchain ISO standard. The concept of that was to create something similar to the payment standards that we have, like 222. Separate to that, we've been collaborating on numerous levels in numerous governments and other organizations, but we've also started creating protocol standards within the IETF and with MIT.
Now, y'all just saw all of those countries. You just saw, how Gilbert Verdian himself is tied into it all. And understand things like Fnality, that is a network. Things like the RLN, that is a network. Things like, Ripple, like I said earlier, that's a network. Hedera, that is a network. Although it is not technically a blockchain, it still operates in the realm of Web3. Understand what Overledger is that has tied itself into global standards and internet protocols for the interoperability layer so that it can continuously operate the way that it needs to operate. You can build your complete and utter interoperable network on this network, and it can be deployed on any other network seamlessly. Any information that I need to send to you. They could be things as far as healthcare. They can be things as far as banking. They can be things as far as business. They can be things as far as delivery versus payment of a company or a structure of a company. And we can integrate these things. And this is a technology that is tied to standards that has patents. It's like Gilbert said in the video, and I'm actually going to play that video, and then I'm going to be done with this video, that a part of their technology is open source. That means anybody can use it in the manner that they need to use it in. But another part of that technology is patented, which means we are the only ones that can facilitate this particular service within this particular realm of networks. Understand what is truly being laid out in front of us, okay, you guys? But here we go, that next video.
We've got the core of our technology, which is patented, and we did this to protect the inner core. And what we've done is open up everything else. So the small bit of the technology that the way we do our ordering and messaging is patented, but everything else is just open source, and that's the way we're doing. So we took a good solid year of research to get to this answer, and basically what we did was look at the inspiration of the internet. As I said, we didn't create bridges or connectors and anything that's complex that's going to provide more overhead, and we didn't create another blockchain. So what we did was sit on top, do end to end, and the way we done it, it's in the white paper, and the way we did it was looking at the different components of each chain, and what we looked at was the op codes and the messaging spaces within different blockchains, and using that as a mechanism to be able to read and write. And so if you're reading from one destination and writing to a different one source and writing to a different destination, we're using the technology already in existing blockchains in order to be able to take the blocks that are in question, so blockchain A and blockchain B, putting those into Overledger as kind of like a virtual block, allowing them to read and write to the destination direct. This is all direct, and not adding any more consensus to it. And if you think about it, it's quite a clever way, because we're not adding more overhead to what's already down there, and we're respecting the rules of the bottom blockchains. So if one blockchain operates at 10 transactions and then the other one transaction operates at 1,000 transactions, we have to wait until that's done on both blockchains. So it's committed, and then it's released, and then you've got the destination written to the destination chain. So we've done it in a unique way, which really decouples the messaging layer from the transactional layer, which is again the way we're doing it, like TCP/IP. And we had to put some clever things in the technology to make sure that you're writing to the right destination chain, because if you're writing to a particular chain and it gets cut and it's not the right one, there's an error and it's not committed, then you've written to something that's gone. So you lose your data. And so the way we've done that is again looking at the way computers work, and if you look at the hard drive and disk checksums and TCP/IP, and we've taken the best of technology out there and applied it to blockchain. And so what we did was create something called a verification block, which sits there and it polls the destination to make sure it's being written to the right chain. And once it's written to the right chain, then you get the OK, and we're using something called a two-phase commit to do that. And then you've got the OK, and once you've got that, then it writes to the right chain.
2022 to be exact. Overledger introduced new tier 2, I should say, QRC20 smart contract capabilities. Ledger 2.2.2, MDAP developers can deploy Tier 2 QRC20 functionality built on the existing capabilities of Quant's Tier 1 QRC smart contracts. QRC20 tokens function like Ethereum standard counterpart ERC20 with the same definitions and structures for smart tokens, while ERC20 are designed for deployment on Ethereum network. QRC20 tokens will be blockchain agnostic and work across multiple distributed ledger technologies. MDAP developers can use their APIs to increase their token supply. Use their token supply by burning their own QRC20 tokens. Once the QRC20 Tier 2 contract is deployed, a new set of QRC20 Tier 1 and Tier 2 APIs will be automatically updated, supporting new created Tier 2 QRC20 tokens. UK Regulated Liability Network, remember the RLN, to experiment with digital pound as tokenized deposits, September 4, 2023. Does it mention anything about Fnality? Fnality is also viewed as one of the potential RLN settlement assets alongside an API linked to real-time gross settlement system, RTGS, and wholesale CBDCs.
Now, y'all just heard directly from Gilbert Verdian's mouth, the CEO of Quant Network. We went over so much stuff in this video, yo. We went over Fnality. We went over the distributed. We went over what a DLN is, because most people know about DLT, but don't truly understand what a DLN is. Okay, you guys, follow me on this, because I feel like Quant Network is an opportunity of a lifetime. And I feel that knowing about any of these distributed ledger technologies that are tied themselves to standards, internet protocols, and infrastructure in a global way, any of them. Because even though, like I said, you have things like Ripple and XRP, understand that is a network that will facilitate lots of this commerce. You have things like the RLN, and that's another network that's going to facilitate lots of commerce in the way that it needs to do it. You have things like, remember earlier in this video, we talked about the Bank of England's and their wholesale CBDC, and that's a network. And it's going to have to be facilitated the way it needs to be facilitated so that it can tap into the stable coin or the retail aspect of that, whether that's from business or the consumer. Understand, this is an incredible opportunity. Quant Network and Overledger. Okay, you guys? I know this was a long video. I honestly don't even know how long this was, but if you truly tapped in and you truly understand everything that I said in this, and you truly feel a brother, I want you to type in DLN, because although we know about DLT, most people don't understand what a DLN is. And if you understand what a DLN is, you understand what Overledger is doing with them and how they have that on lock. So type in DLN. Until the next time, y'all already know. Peace out.